The day I caught my husband holding my best friend's hand, I did not cry. I did not beg. I calmly asked one question. "Are you sure this is what you want?" They smiled and said, "Yes." I signed the divorce papers before sunset. My lawyer stared at me in disbelief and asked, "You earn hundreds of thousands of dollars every year. Does your husband really not know?" I smiled because the biggest secret in our marriage was never the affair. It was who truly held the power. Stay until the end because what happened in the courtroom changed all three of our lives forever. For 15 years, everyone believed my husband was the successful one. He loved expensive watches, luxury cars, and business dinners, where he enjoyed telling people how hard he worked for our family. I never interrupted him. I simply smiled and let him enjoy the attention. The truth was very different. I quietly built a software company from a small home office. At first, it was only a side project. Then clients kept coming. Contracts became larger. Before long, the business was making hundreds of thousands of dollars every year. Every payment went into accounts that were legally mine because I had started the company before our marriage and carefully kept every financial record. My husband never cared enough to ask questions. As long as the bills were paid and vacations were booked, he assumed his income supported our lifestyle. His pride never allowed him to imagine that I had quietly built something much bigger than his career. Then my best friend changed everything. She had been part of our family for years. She attended birthdays, holidays, and even vacations. I trusted her completely. Looking back now, I realized she was paying far more attention to my husband than to me. One evening, I returned home earlier than expected. I walked into the living room and found them together. They immediately stepped apart, but their faces told the whole story. Instead of shouting, I simply asked how long. My husband looked relieved that I stayed calm. He admitted they had been seeing each other for months. My best friend claimed they had fallen in love and hoped I would understand. Understand. That single word erased 15 years of friendship. The next morning, I called a divorce lawyer. When I explained everything, he prepared the paperwork. Then he reviewed my financial documents. He looked up with complete surprise. "You make hundreds of thousands of dollars every year. Does your husband know?" I answered with one sentence. He never cared enough to find out. The lawyer smiled and said that one decision had probably protected everything I built, because my business had been carefully documented from the beginning and handled correctly. The legal process became much simpler than my husband expected. A few weeks later, he finally hired his own attorney. That was when reality hit him. He discovered that the beautiful house, the investment accounts, and the successful company were connected to years of careful planning that he had ignored. He thought he was leaving an ordinary marriage. Instead, he had walked away from a life he never truly understood. My former best friend was shocked. She had believed she was replacing me with a wealthy husband. Instead, she found someone carrying large debts, expensive habits, and a lifestyle that depended on money that was no longer available. Arguments started almost immediately. The confidence they showed on the day they betrayed me slowly disappeared. During one court hearing, my husband looked directly at me and quietly asked why I had never told him the truth about my success. I answered honestly, "You never asked because you never believed I could achieve it." Silence filled the room. Even his lawyer lowered his eyes. Months later, the divorce was finalized. I kept the company I had spent years building. I moved into a smaller home by choice, traveled more often, and finally enjoyed the freedom I had postponed for years. One afternoon, I received a message from my former best friend. She apologized for everything. She admitted that the relationship had fallen apart because it was built on excitement instead of trust. I wished her well and never replied again. Some endings do not need revenge. They only need distance. The greatest victory was never the money. It was discovering that peace is worth more than proving someone wrong. The people who underestimated me lost far more than a marriage. They lost the chance to stand beside someone who believed in loyalty, hard work, and quiet success. The greatest revenge was never winning in court. It was refusing to become bitter. They chased what looked valuable and lost everything that truly mattered. I protected my future because I believed in myself long before anyone else did. Sometimes, the people who walk away are not escaping your life. They're walking away from the best future they could have ever had. If this story touched you, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, and leave your thoughts in the comments below.